I think one of the most valuable things that I did, and I think applies to anybody today, was I got practical experience in the music business when I was a freshman in college. I didn't wait till my senior year to get that practical experience. And I think that's really important for people who are looking to get into the business and wondering how to do that. I think I have interns here on a regular basis, and I spend time with all of them periodically. I mean, I don't have time to sit down with them day in and day out. It's not practical, but I also know I never forget my intern experience, and I want them to try to get as much from that as possible. And I also make a point of talking to them at the beginning, really sitting down with them thoroughly at the beginning, and same thing at the end. And I think that what I say to them is get practical experience while you're still in college. Don't wait till you're out of college then to start to get the experience. I think that the smartest thing you can do is to get a well-rounded education and get the really important fundamentals covered in college, and then shore that up with some really hands-on practical experience in an area that you think you might have an interest in as a career. You don't know. Don't feel like you have to know what you want to do, because even if you do know, it's going to change anyway. But I think the most important thing in that time frame is to experiment with things that you think you might want to do as a career and get a feel for it. I think even if you learn you don't want to do something, that was a valuable experience. And so I think it's important to try a bunch of different things. And if you latch on to something that you happen to like, well, then really run with that, and that's what worked out for me. I had one intern here once who left the internship because they said that they wanted to go get a job, a paying job, where they could make car payments, because they couldn't make their car payments for their new car. And I just thought, well, you're not that serious about your career, if making car payments is more important to you. I mean, I drove the biggest rust bucket for years. I mean, until right before I moved down here, even when I was at the Gavin Report. But particularly in college. I mean, this was a college student. And I didn't get paid for my time at the college radio station, and I borrowed money to go to school. And I think, I could have gone out and worked and gotten a job and not put in the time at KUSF those summers. I remember those 2 or 3 summers, like my sophomore and junior years, and other friends might be taking off to go all over the place. And not that I didn't take a fair amount of time off either, but I still maintain my tie at KUSF. That was like a job to me, even though I wasn't being paid, because I really enjoyed it. But the experience I was getting was invaluable, And so I think, what I say to interns is and so that intern left, and that person went and got a job at a bank to make money, to make their car payment. And so what I say to people is, if you want to go work in a bank, and there's nothing wrong with working in a bank, that can be great. Lots of people love that. That's a great career choice. But that should be the reason you go to work at the bank. If you think you want to work in any field of work, then try to get experience in that field of work, or at least on the periphery of that field, so like a related industry. So I think that's my advice to interns. You should always be doing an internship. I made sure that I was always doing that when I was in college, and just did that for 4 years, so that when I graduated, I had 4 years of experience in the music business, working at retail, working at this radio station that had a really high profile. And by the way, I didn't have an offer from a record label at that time with all that hard work, but I did have it did lead me to a job at the Gavin Report, even though it was part-time. But I made a job for myself at the Gavin Report. That's the other thing. I created a position that didn't even exist. I looked around and went, "Where's the void? Aha, here's the void. I'm going to get in there." And I could see that nobody was doing a weekly chart. So I said, "There's a need," and I knew there was a need for that from talking to people, right? So that's it. I think that the practical experience is critical. But I think the education is very important as well. I think you want the 1-2 punch. Big advocate of doing both the practical experience and quality education. I think it's important. I think a lot of the things I learned in college come back to me, maybe not even always directly, but looking back, I wouldn't have foregone that.